Listen closely, not with your ears, but with that quiet place inside you that already knows this truth. There comes a moment in every life when hesitation becomes an insult to potential, when doubt becomes a betrayal of something sacred placed within you at birth. This is not arrogance, this is remembrance. Somewhere along the way, you were taught to shrink your expectations, to negotiate with fear, to call safety wisdom. But there is a deeper law moving beneath the surface of this world. A law Napoleon Hill whispered through history and men like Edison, Carnegie, Ford, and Lincoln proved with their lives. You are not here by accident, and mediocrity was never part of the design. Act as if you are so chosen that failure would be an insult to your existence. Not because you are better than others, but because you are accountable to what you were given. The universe does not invest genius without intent. It does not seed desire without a corresponding path to fulfillment. That restless hunger you feel when the world grows quiet, that is not dissatisfaction. That is destiny knocking, asking if you are brave enough to answer. Every great achievement begins with an assumption. Edison assumed light could be tamed. Ford assumed the common man deserved mobility. Disney assumed imagination could outlive criticism. They did not wait for permission. They did not ask consensus. They acted as if the idea chose them. And failure was not an option, because retreat would have meant denying the very voice that called them forward. They aligned their identity with inevitability. Understand this. Belief is not hope. Belief is a decision. It is the moment you stop asking, can I? And start declaring, I must. The mind is a magnet. Hill taught, pulling into form whatever it holds with emotional intensity and unwavering faith. When you act as if you are chosen, your posture changes. Your walk changes. Your tolerance for excuses evaporates. You stop negotiating with time. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop asking the crowd for approval because the crowd has never built anything eternal. Clarity arrives when you decide who you are before the world decides for you. Most people drift because they outsource their identity to circumstance. They let yesterday's failure define today's effort. But the chosen mind understands a brutal truth. Circumstances bow to conviction sustained by action. You do not need more motivation. You need a fixed vision that burns so bright it reorganizes your priorities without asking permission. Vision is not fantasy. It is disciplined imagination applied daily. Carnegie saw steel bridges before they spanned rivers. Lincoln saw unity while the nation bled. They trained their minds to live in the future while their hands worked in the present. Act as if your future self is watching you right now, measuring whether your actions match your declarations. That awareness alone will sharpen you. Purpose is the spine of power. Without it, talent collapses under pressure. With it, even weakness becomes leverage. Hill called it a definiteness of purpose. A single consuming aim that organizes thought, emotion, and behavior into one unstoppable direction. When your purpose is clear, discipline stops feeling like sacrifice. It becomes self-respect. You wake up earlier, not because you have to, but because something inside you refuses to waste another hour pretending you are ordinary. Discipline is the daily proof of belief. It is how faith becomes flesh. Anyone can feel inspired in moments of comfort, but the chosen are revealed in repetition. When no one is watching, when results are delayed, when the old self begs for relief. This is where most turn back, not because the path is wrong, but because they underestimated who they needed to become to walk it. Action is the language of confidence. You do not wait for certainty. You create it through movement. The mind obeys the body in motion. Fear dissolves when confronted repeatedly. Momentum is born when intention meets execution. Hill warned that procrastination is the most common form of failure, dressed as caution. If you are chosen, delay is disobedience. And yet, even as you move relentlessly forward, you carry gratitude. Not as politeness, but as power. Gratitude tunes the mind to abundance. It reminds you that progress, not perfection, is the agreement you made with life. The chosen are grateful not because the road is easy, but because they understand resistance is evidence they are moving in the right direction. Adaptability becomes your shield. Rigidity breaks under pressure. Flexibility bends and survives. When plans collapse, you do not collapse with them. You adjust, you learn, you refine. Hill wrote that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. The chosen mind searches for that seed even while the storm is still raging. Resilience is not loud. It is quiet persistence. It is returning again and again with sharpened resolve. Lincoln lost elections before leading a nation. Edison failed thousands of times before lighting the world. They were not immune to discouragement. They were simply unwilling to let it have the final word. They acted as if quitting would be a violation of their calling. And learning, continuous, humble, relentless learning, keeps you aligned with growth. The moment you believe you have arrived is the moment decay begins. The chosen remain students of life, refining their craft, upgrading their thinking, shedding outdated beliefs without nostalgia. They evolve faster than their circumstances can trap them. So hear this now and let it settle into your bones. You do not need validation to proceed. You do not need guarantees to begin. Act as if you were so chosen that failure would be an insult to your existence, and watch how the world rearranges itself around that decision. This is not bravado. This is alignment. This is the quiet, unshakable knowing that you were never meant to live small, and you will no longer pretend otherwise. When you accept this identity, when you truly act as if failure would be an insult to your existence, something subtle but irreversible happens inside you. You stop romanticizing comfort. You stop confusing rest with retreat. You begin to see how many lives are lived half awake, anesthetized by routine, dulled by repetition, slowly negotiating away their greatness for the illusion of security. And you realize with startling clarity, that path is not yours. The chosen mind does not ask, what if I fail? It asks, what if I betray the gift? Because the real tragedy is not falling short of a goal. It is shrinking to fit a fear. Hill understood this deeply. He saw that most men fail, not because of lack of intelligence or opportunity, but because they never form an unbreakable alliance with their own potential. They keep one foot planted in doubt, ready to retreat if the world pushes back. But the world always pushes back. Resistance is the entry fee. You were never meant to be liked by everyone. Approval is not a requirement for impact. Every great thinker, builder, reformer, and creator was misunderstood before being celebrated. And many were never celebrated at all in their lifetime. Yet they moved forward anyway, driven by an inner command stronger than public opinion. They answered to a higher court, conscience, vision, destiny. This is where courage becomes non-negotiable. Not the loud kind that announces itself, but the quiet courage to keep going when enthusiasm fades. The courage to sit alone with your vision while others mock it, dismiss it, or simply cannot see it. The courage to outgrow relationships, habits, and identities that once felt safe but now feel small. Growth is a lonely climb, but mediocrity is a crowded prison. The mind, Hill taught, is both the lock and the key. What you hold in thought, you hold in form. If you secretly expect collapse, you will unconsciously engineer it. If you secretly believe you are unworthy, you will sabotage momentum the moment it begins to work. This is why acting as if is not pretending. It is programming. You behave into belief. You train your nervous system to accept higher standards. You normalize excellence until anything less feels foreign. Standards are everything. The chosen do not rise to their goals. They fall to their standards. When your standard is non-negotiable commitment, excuses lose their grip. When your standard is disciplined execution, distractions lose their appeal. When your standard is integrity with yourself, shortcuts become unbearable. You begin to feel discomfort not from effort, but from inconsistency. And effort, true effort, is never wasted. The world has a way of rewarding momentum long after patience has been tested. Hill called it the law of rhythm. Delays are not denials, but preparation. The unseen roots must grow deep before the tree can rise tall enough to withstand storms. Most people quit during the invisible phase, when progress has not yet learned how to speak. The chosen persist because they understand that silence does not mean absence. It means incubation. Faith deepens here, not blind optimism, but earned faith. The kind built through keeping promises to yourself. Every time you do the hard thing you said you would do, trust is restored. Every time you act despite fear, your identity upgrades. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is the side effect of evidence. You become believable to yourself. Time begins to feel different. You stop rushing, yet you stop wasting it. Urgency replaces anxiety. You move with intention, not desperation. You understand that mastery is a long conversation between patience and pressure. You apply pressure daily patiently, knowing the compound effect is undefeated. And when setbacks come, as they always do, you no longer personalize them. You study them. You extract wisdom instead of emotion. You ask better questions. What is this refining in me? What weakness is being exposed? What skill must now be developed? Failure, to the chosen, is not a verdict. It is feedback. This is where resilience matures into inevitability. You no longer hope to win. You expect to endure long enough to learn what winning requires. That expectation alone changes outcomes. The world senses when someone will not leave. Opportunities open to persistence in ways talent alone never earns. So keep acting as if. Act as if your presence here is intentional. Act as if your dream is evidence of an assignment. Act as if discipline is devotion, effort is prayer, and persistence is gratitude in motion. Because one day, sooner than you think, you will look back and realize the moment you stopped giving yourself an escape route was the moment your life began to answer you with equal commitment.